Hi, Coach Gabe here. I want to take a moment to share with you how I design custom medicinal movements, as I call them, for struggling students in my Brilliant Brains program. Since between the classroom, the gym, and the clinic, three common areas when you look around a community, unfortunately, these sensory nerve problems are oftentimes not helped. So I personally can share my experiences and struggles 15 plus years with learning how to overcome chronic nerve pain, aka neuropathy, as it's called in the clinical profession. So here on my trusty board, 3 bullet points wanted to take note of. So we have sensory nerve sensitivity. So a lot of the time, we can feel pain in a certain area, especially in the extremities, the feet and the hands. And so it can feel electric-like or a warm sensation, sometimes even numbness. So the tingling and numbness is a common symptom of neuropathy. In my case, it's peripheral neuropathy, where many people suffer from diabetic neuropathy, which is very serious. Proprioception, that's working on balance. So when we do balance movements, that let's just say that as we age, we can lose balance, and if we've fallen or had a major injury that has impaired or severed a nerve and those nerve endings, that's something that's extremely important, that we do balance type exercises just in our daily living, and then when we actually design our own exercise plan. So that's called proprioception, and that definitely engages the nervous system in a way that's not hyper stimulating. People like myself, for example, and many students who deal with autism, so on the autism spectrum, and a lot of the sensory integration disorders that a lot of teachers and parents try to get help for these kids with. The interesting thing is that some of us, like me, and autistic kids, that the last thing we need is hypersensitivity stimulation. So that's electronic devices, and then the types of even activities and exercises that greatly matters for that. So that means we need to calm down a bit. We need to move in a smart way. And so that intelligence behind what I call medicinal movements, I'm always carefully calculating what the specific person needs. So, and next, neuropathy. So again, that tingling and numbness, you don't want it to become numbness, but I can share that when you can have a false sense of being cold all the time. So you can be very sensitive to temperature, hot and cold. I experienced picking up frozen vegetables for more than a minute, and I could feel right away that I almost started to have some kind of numbness in my fingers and my hands. So that relates to my final point, and I start it for a reason. So blood circulation, dealing with the heart, which is a muscle, and our other muscles tied to nerves. And so blood supply and that circulation is extremely important. It can be life-threatening if it gets severe enough. And so exercise improves blood flow. And so I personally can relate, and many autistic students, they need to have even school designed in a way, and exercise and their daily activities of living, otherwise called ADLs, to support their need to be more mobile than the average person. So this helps with that blood flow and circulation in the muscles and the nerves. So So an example of some exercises that I've found to be very helpful, you can use a ball. Stability ball is something that definitely it's good to keep handy, and you'll find these in a lot of gyms and other fitness related venues. And so balancing or sitting on these is very helpful. You may have a child or a student who is real fidgety and doesn't like to sit still very often. And so there's all types of good activities for that. Next, you have a smaller but a little bit heavier. You can get different weighted medicine balls. And so you can use these to provide some weight-bearing strength and a rotational component. And so just oftentimes the smaller movements, still working our large major muscle groups, getting that blood circulation with our heart pumping blood to and from the capillaries and the arteries and everything in the entire cardiovascular system working more efficiently than it was before. It can do a lot of good. And so a real great view of how the body works is the brain and the central nervous system is communicating constantly with the peripheral nervous system down to our extremities with our muscles. And so that is a term of biofeedback, where it's self-communication. So oftentimes I'll advise a client or student to listen to the messages or slow down enough in your daily life so you can allow for that self-communication in the form of stress, fatigue. Adrenal exhaustion is one of the health conditions that I care the most about. I have a lot of experience with it, and it's something conventional allopathic doctors rarely ever have a conversation about. And so many of these sensory and nervous system clinical disorders that I solve for people, they have many factors involved where a functional medicine trained nutritionist and health professional is able to solve problems at a different level than what you're going to receive in the clinic and even in your typical fitness gyms. So I really care about painting the big picture for families and students and those with special needs, in that you can even have special need trained professionals. You can have healthcare professionals, you can have educators, you can have all these specialists that you send your child to. Unfortunately, there are many pieces in this puzzle to solve these. And so functional medicine plus some brain puzzles and games plus these medicinal movements in a variety that are strategic, that support restoring these functions, having a healthy brain, which impacts behavior, impacts cognitive functions that relate to the classroom and academic performance in areas of reading, writing, language arts, and math and science. So this is all about restoring brain and body functions in a smart way. And so I put a few of the right pieces together in this Brilliant Brains program. And on the exercise side, sometimes it doesn't have to be quite so difficult. Now the last thing I want to show before I go, design some medicinal meal menus, is battle ropes. So this is a favorite tool of mine for getting the heart going and cardiovascular endurance. So let me demonstrate why. Because in a short amount of time, when life flies fast and things just get in the way, and since I know that the majority of folks around this country have a challenge at one point or another, like I have, of just fitting exercise in on a consistent day-to-day basis. So sometimes we need to find strategic ways to fit it in. So you can see that you're going to work the shoulders, the arms. The heart is going to be pumping faster. And if you combine this with bodyweight squats and another very important movement that I've used with the lunge, you can do all types of lunges. However, you want to get deep in the lunge. And this, I've learned, really helps to get in there and help with a lot of that pain that gets when you get tight in the hip flexor. So, a little bit about nerve pain, neuropathy, sensory disorders. So I created Brilliant Brains to be as holistic as it gets. So if you'd like a problem solved in that area for your child or student, and you're here in North Dallas, feel free to leave me a message, and I hope I've been able to help in some way. Until next time, think belief, be dogged, determined, and do whatever it takes to live well.